Welcome to China Manufacturing Decoded from Sofeast, the podcast where we take you through some of the major topics facing importers and manufacturers in China today.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the China Manufacturing Decoded podcast again. And this week, we are talking with Clive Greenwood, who is an expert, among others, an expert in compliance. And the topic today is what are the issues with compliance for most importers? What I mean by that is most people come to China, buy some products, and don't actually ensure that their products are compliant with the laws and regulations of the countries where they will sell these products. So why is that? Why is it not very easy sometimes for the importers? What information are they missing? What should they do? Basically, this is what we're going to cover in, as well as we can anyway, in this episode. So Clive, hi, nice to have you here. Thanks for joining us. Can you give us a little bit of an intro about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, good morning, Renaud. Good morning, everybody. My name's Clive Greenwood. I'm the Chief Technical Officer of WWMG Associates. We are a company which specialises in standards and compliances to manufacturing industries. I myself work to help companies with their manufacturing compliance, to raise their standards, to raise their quality requirements, and to push themselves into better quality. So I've been doing this for nearly 30 years, rather a long time. And my hobby is writing, as Renaud will tell you, my hobby is actually reading standards. So go on, you take it away.
Great. Okay, so I'm sure you have seen and talked to a lot of buyers who come and let's just say, general consumer goods, furniture, textiles, electronics, and things like that for the EU, for the US, for Australia, and so on. And they just, come to the Canton Fair or look on Alibaba and just place an order and receive the products, put them on the market, in e-commerce or in stores and so on. And all throughout this process, they never really asked, is this compliant? First, what regulations actually apply to these products in, let's say, for example, in the US, and what can we do to actually make sure that it's compliant, right? So I'm sure you've seen a lot of people like this, right? Does it come from a lack of awareness of the standards? Does it come from let's just do it and let's see what happens, sort of risk-taking attitude? Does it come from greed? Yeah, we probably should do some testing, but whatever, this is a small order, the margin doesn't justify it, right? I'm sure there's all of these cases, right?
Yeah, I think generally, if you wanted to take a general overview of what's happening, it tends to be that there has been a distinct, we need this cheap as we can get products to make margin. It's not, I don't believe that the vast majority do not understand that they must meet standard. I believe that the vast majority, rightly or wrongly, assume that when they're talking to their Chinese manufacturers, for example, and not just in China, by the way, that their so-called accreditations and their certificates are, in fact, retrospective, or respective, should I say, of what they actually do. And that's not the case.
Right. So too much trust maybe to the suppliers, documents and abilities and everything, and preserving the margin, making some margin first.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
It's all about getting the cheapest product that they can, and in a lot of cases, especially with internet, this is one of the biggest challenges that we face in compliance, is that these box shifters on internet, they have little knowledge of the supplier. they have little knowledge of the products, and literally they're just using a platform, a very big platform as well, as it turns out, to push product. There is no checks, there is no balances. The people that are buying them off the internet really have no idea that there is a standard for this product, or that the supplier should comply with this. They just see a nice little CE certificate on the bottom of the page and think, well, everything's going to be fine.
Correct.
So
Yes.
naivety is a big problem.
Yeah, I remember. Years ago, this was on French TV. Some journalists, they went to see some Chinese supplier in their showroom, and they said, "Oh, okay, well, this product is nice. It's for sale in the EU. Is okay?" And they were like, "Yeah, sure." And okay, oh, and I would need the CE logo on it. Oh, yeah, sure. We just make a little change, in the mold or whatever. Pop, you will get the CE. It's no problem. Okay, is this going to cost anything extra, or have any implications? No. You want the mark? You have the mark, right?
Yep.
and the suppliers sometimes make it look extremely simple, right? It's fine, just do like that and buy it, give us the money, sell it, give us money again, we make it again. It's that simple, right? But then last year, I think a lot of people started to actually think, oh, there is such a thing as compliance obligations with the PPE disasters, right? All of these masks and respirators and all other kinds of PPE products that were purchased by all kinds of traders that did not really know what they're doing, that were actually chasing quick profits. And then there was a lot of backlash. A lot of these products were actually non-compliant. A lot of them were actually thrown away. Is that correct?
Yes. As you remember, when I wrote the two papers, what mask which job, and then also the one which we've just finished, which is the checkmate paper. We looked into the history of what was going on, especially in checkmate, when we searched back through multiple data sources and found that the PPE disaster was something which was well known was going to happen. There were exercises run in multiple capitals across Europe, and it was found that even if they had a major flu epidemic, then the health service just would not cope.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you looked at the start of 2020, there was some 11,000 manufacturers of masks in China. By the middle of 2020, there was 64,000.
Okay. Yeah, because it's so easy. You just extend your scope, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's so easy. Yeah. Now, first and foremost, as we pointed out in the work which I said, we looked at exactly what these things are and what the performance is. Now, if we looked at the A strain virus or the Wuhan virus, as it was known at the time, then its actual size was 0.0125 nanomicrons. But the masks which are on the market, apart from the certified medical masks, and the ones at the time, in fact, were not the N95s, by the way, as an N95 is not a medical mask, it's a dust mask. Now that's only good at 3 nanomicrons.
You need N99.
The N99, the N99 is the medical mask, the N95 is not. The N95 is, in fact, a dust mask. And that includes 3M and everybody, all the manufacturers, but it was what was available at the time.
Right.
And it was anything is better than nothing. Okay.
Sure.
Now, what's caused the problem was the inner side of these masks, especially the ones which we call the surgical mask,
Mm-hmm.
was the middle layer of that is called meltblown.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a substance which is extremely difficult to control the quality. It's incredibly difficult to control it. It needs to be in sterile rooms, in zero static environments, things like this.
Mm.
Simply put, there wasn't enough of it.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah, that became clear. Yeah.
That became clear. So what happened? You had, and I mean, I know because I directly investigated 84 companies.
Mm.
We found that there were people were buying. I mean, during, let's say, the first quarter to the second quarter of 2020, the explosion that there was in manufacturers of melt-blown equipment and of mass manufacturing equipment. They were just
popping up
making
everywhere.
them like they were just popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
But the people that were using them had no idea of what they were actually building, but it didn't matter because no one was checking.
Right. It was get me 1 million masks now.
Yeah. Doesn't matter that it doesn't work. Doesn't matter.
Right.
Not bothered.
I can't come and audit it. I need to pay 50% first.
Yeah.
I need it now. Okay, I'll do it. Yeah.
I'll do it. Yeah. Yeah. So like, okay, it doesn't matter. Just get me something.
Yeah.
This is where this whole thing started from. We traced it back. The point is that the national stockpiles across the world, especially in the US, I mean, FEMA did an appalling job. They took down their national stockpile to zero.
Yeah.
And never replaced anything. And this is, we spoke before when we were talking about, the national security implications of not having PPE, for example. I mean, in 2017, no one would suggest that PPE would be of national security implications. Yeah.
Right.
The trouble is, there was 4 reports which was made by something which is called the Five Eyes security system. Okay, where they very clearly stated, and if you can get hold of a copy of Checkmate, it quotes in that meeting verbatim. They knew. It's not that they didn't know. It was clearly there in intelligence briefings that this would be a problem.
So some people actually looked and saw the risk in case of some kind of flu or.
Yes, they defined the risk. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and the National Health Service in the UK did actually what we called an eerie exercise. We called it eerie because it means that they're eerily real on what would happen in the event of a national pandemic or epidemic. And it showed that the National Health Service had probably got about 2 weeks. And then that would be it. Yeah. And this is what happened. So then you had people, and yes, in the UK, government ministers out there buying things from the mate down the pub who just turned around and said, well, I can get you this because I know somebody in China.
Yeah, that's really what happened.
Yeah. That's really what happened. Yeah?
Yes. Everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Oh, you get a connection to some kind of buyer, some kind of manufacturer of masks. Oh, you get some stock. Okay, let's just buy it because
we can get it to you. It doesn't matter if it works or it doesn't work.
We need it now, right?
Yeah. Provided it's got a CE certificate on it, and even if it hasn't, it doesn't matter. Put one on. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yes.
There is, huge fake documents, but it didn't really matter because no one was checking.
Right.
Okay. You got a sudden explosion of manufacturers that no one could get round and check.
Yeah.
Okay?
True.
It was the Wild West, but in reality, when you look, not just in the PPE industry, although as we will go on and we will explore, that was the straw which has broke the camel's back. Okay, that's for sure.
Mm.
But when you talk about people buying things, okay, the first and foremost is pre-COVID, it didn't cost a lot of money to send a person to China to do an investigation. It was, you're looking at £2,000. You could send a guy, one of your engineers, go out, look at this factory. Yeah.
Mm.
It wasn't really that difficult.
Right.
So that needs to go to another aspect of what happened with this whole mess, was that 2,000, we don't need to spend it, we will trust them. So that comes back to that. It's okay. They have a CE mark, they have this, they have that. Then it's got to be right. A lot of the blame must fall on the people who were doing the accreditations. This is where the CE mark, as you said before, doesn't matter. When in reality, that was the only safeguard that the buyers had. Okay?
Yeah.
Whether or not it was an overtrust, or whether or not it was naivety, or whether or not it was pure profit, I think it's a combination of everything which happened.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
No surveillance of the manufacturing, a lack of trained people to do audits. I mean, there are not many people, like me and you, that can actually read a specification of 174 pages and disseminate what that standard actually means. I mean, most people after page 4 throw this away. Right. It's like, So a lack of trained inspectors, that's for sure. And the problem is that the people that were doing the inspection in the vast majority of cases were actually the same company that had given the accreditation.
Correct.
That is not exactly oversight, is it?
Little conflict of interest.
Is it just?
Yes. If the inspector says, "Oh, there's some problems," and then the guys will say, "Yeah, but your colleagues under the third party, so-called different business unit,
they said it was okay.
The same, and they say it was all okay. What are you talking about? They're supposed to be more trained than you. They have more hours of auditing than you. Discuss this with them, and it's fine to give us the certification. It's perfectly acceptable, actually." Oh, yes.
Yeah, and that's across a wide range of industries. It's not just in the medical or consumer electronics. It's across a wide range.
Yes.
Okay.
So I was talking about the PPE disaster because that's really a crazy case study, but it really reveals that when everything goes wrong, buyers who have no clue what they want, buyers who don't do the due diligence, suppliers who say, yes, look, we have a paper, look at this, and then it doesn't say CE mark, it just has a CE logo somewhere, and then they say it's issued by a company somewhere in Europe. Look, this is our CE certificate, and actually the buyers are not trained to read it, so they don't understand that it's not applicable at all as a CE certificate. There was a lot of that, actually.
When we start talking about the ECMs.
Yes.
Everybody saw CE, but what it was saying was actually ECM. That's a self-declaration and means nothing.
Right, because it's not applicable for this kind of product. But people did not even know, right? So that's an interesting, interesting case study. So, and just to finish off with the PPE, okay, because there's still a lot of PPE being shipped out of China, obviously, and some of the measures taken, put in place last year are still in place, right? You were telling me. So in the EU, the customs still check the documentation of the masks and gloves and such types of products. Is that correct?
The customs have visibility of the declaration of conformity. That's it.
Okay. So if they see something that is not how to say?
At the present time, you have to remember that border control, they are only inspecting 10% of everything that goes in. Okay, but if you're flying in there with a 747 full of masks, then they're probably going to have a look at it.
Yeah.
But they're not trained they're not experts in that particular field. They, the glaring difference of, well, that's obviously a fake, okay, but most people did not know what the fakes looked like because they were quite good. You had to really understand. Visually, yeah. Although modern day certificates, they actually have QR codes in them, which you can just simply scan in your smartphone, and it will come up and tell you exactly what that is. And if the paperwork doesn't line up, you got a problem. But the problem is enforcement. It is always, and as we will go on later, we'll look at new enforcement rules. The problem has been manpower at the docks, buyers not understanding what they're buying. The whole thing was holier than a Swiss cheese, and people were experts at navigating where those holes were.
Yes.
Right. You've got to remember there was a great deal of fraud going on. It wasn't a lot of just people not understanding what was going on. There was a great deal of fraud.
Right. Yes.
Okay. And, when there is a gold mine, which happened on that one, then there will always be that. And there needs to be strong surveillance in place to make sure that doesn't happen. And it simply wasn't there.
Right. Yeah. Let's stay on this topic. Yes. So let's say I set up a business importing some, again, general consumer products in the EU or in the US, and I start to buy some products. Who might get me in trouble? Usually in the EU, usually in my understanding, it is the market surveillance authorities, right, which is a different agency in every country, right? And they're supposed to come in once in a while, have a look at the documents, have a look at what they call the technical files, for any product that you have put on the market. Actually, you need to keep the technical file for 10 years after a product has been put on the market now, right? Yes. Yeah. So they look through that, they check if things have been declared properly, because sometimes the import duties are different, and they check obviously for compliance. Okay, how do you know if this product here, I don't know, like a Christmas lighting chain or something that that might put a fire in a home, or really endanger the user's safety? Okay, well, how do you know that this was compliant? Show me. Okay, so we have this certificate that was given to us by the supplier. We have this test report. We did our own inspection. Okay, and then.
Well, first and foremost, the first thing is that it's actually not true that the surveillance bodies actually go and look around. What has to happen first is there has to be a number of complaints about a product for them to actually become involved. So there is the end customer would say, well, look, this has caught fire, or there had been, for example, the police report that someone had died because a set of Christmas trees lights caught fire. And then the consumer protection agencies would then become involved.
Even in the EU? Even in the EU, because
that is the EU. That is the EU.
Okay. So people told me differently. Okay. Yeah, might be true.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
There has to be an instance for them to actually go and look at.
Okay.
The actual mechanism is that there's a report that comes to them. They go and look at it. They don't just go around and look themselves. Okay. So something happens.
Yeah.
Now that time scale between them finding a product, investigating what's gone on, and that product being removed from sale can be anything up to 18 months. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
It is not unless there is a major disaster where countless people are killed, would you get it to move any faster?
Got it. Okay.
And generally what would happen next is that those agencies would then inform border agencies who would then check that product.
Right, I understand.
Okay, that's the mechanism which goes along. Okay,
Yeah.
but the concept that the border agencies check the product is wrong. They do not. It's only unless there is a glaring problem would they take a sample of that product and have it tested.
Oh,
They can't
course.
just they can't open every container and do things, yeah.
Of course.
But again, border agents are not product specialists.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. No, I mean it's more of the document review kind of level. That's what I had in mind.
Yeah, the document review was essentially poor to non-existent.
Yeah, right.
And the people that were supposedly reading them didn't know what they were reading anyway. This goes across multiple industries. Okay.
Right.
That a compliance to a standard is not a sticker that you put on the product. Okay. The compliance, it is, the way too simple a way of looking at it. The compliance is how the product was manufactured. I mean, as you know, to get a CE certificate on multiple different types of products, you have to supply a number of samples to an accredited body, a manufacturing control plan, and there you go. Off you go for the next 5 years. You sent out, say, for example, 24 samples. Yes, they passed. Great. Go and make 24 million of them. Okay. There is nothing in there about surveillance of this. Yes, it passed. Now, if you read a lot of these standards, a lot of these certificates, it says on the day and the samples that we tested, they were found to be in compliance.
Of course, it's always like that with product certificates.
Okay.
They do testing, and based on the report, based on the findings, they say, okay, I certify that these samples are compliant. Yes, of course.
Yeah, doesn't mean that your manufacturing is compliant.
Right. Yes.
Now, generally speaking, what should happen is that your host nation, their manufacturing, customer people, especially in China is actually quite good at this as well. They actually send people in there to look at factories.
Yeah.
Okay. Not all, some do. And if they find something wrong, they put it right-ish. Okay. But that again, there has to be in a report for them to get interested. Yeah. There's not roving bands of inspectors going around saying we're going to make sure that this is okay. All right. And again, it comes down to the loophole, which was that the accreditation bodies were simply issuing certificates and not following up. That is what happens.
Yes.
And there's where the loopholes were, and that's why it went wrong.
Yes, exactly. Let's cover liability. So, big, heavy topic. Currently, so far, again, for most consumer goods, you have, I don't know, you buy some kind of product with a battery, I don't know, an e-bike. You put your e-bike in your garage. The battery, for whatever reason, has been, damaged. There's a short circuit during the night. Boom, and it starts a fire in the home. Okay, who is going to be responsible for that, and who's actually going to be liable, right?
And the easy answer to this is that it is the person who imported the product.
Right. Put it on the market, basically.
Yeah, the person that put it on the market. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If for example, it has got a CE mark, then you have something which is called a CE representative. His role is to make sure that market surveillance is going on. In his role is to be a point contact or that's what his role used to be.
Hmm.
The chain of liability always ends up at the manufacturer. The chain of enforcement stops at the Chinese border in most cases, if you're buying from China, for example.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yes. When you read all the documents, all the standards, the regulations, they're written a little bit like the products are manufactured domestically. And then, yeah, the manufacturer did something wrong, the manufacturer is liable. But when you import from India, from China, actually it's the importer, that really put it on the market, that assumes the liability of the manufacturer. Is that the right way to put it?
It doesn't assume the liability. It is an implied liability at the moment. The liability at that one would be that the importer is assumed to have taken all the necessary due diligence steps to ensure that the product which he's making available to be compliant to the standards as laid down by the nation of which it's been imported to. Now, the word there is assume.
Right.
Not
right.
And that means that he's taking responsibility. But by taking such responsibility by making the product available, it is assumed that he has checked. And that's where his liability is.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Otherwise, he's
now
negligent, and that makes everything worse. Yes.
That makes everything worse. And this is why there has been a change to people buying things offline, especially people like Amazon and things like this. And Taobao and all these type of internet booking places, which there are millions, was that they made the product available to the market, but they actually turned and said, we do not carry liability because we're not responsible for the content of our site, which in other words meant we're just making it available, but we've got no liability. Now that's all changed.
Yeah,
that is changed.
Yeah, but this has been going on for years, and it changed only very recently. And
16th of July, July.
Yeah.
But this
crazy
is,
thing
this is what happened with who is responsible and where is liability.
Right.
Liability always ends with the manufacturer.
Yeah.
Okay. It always ends with the manufacturer, but it depends on which standards and things like this that we're looking at. But in many standards now, it uses the words jointly or severally.
Okay.
So
they addressed the loophole. They said, you guys are involved.
Yes. You're involved in here. You can't just wash your hands with this.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Yes.
All right. You actually made this product available onto the market. You should have checked. You should have known. So therefore, you are liable.
Absolutely.
All right. Now, the courts will always try to go, obviously, for the highest branch on the tree. Okay. The problem is that branch is isolated from prosecution. Okay, because you have you're crossing borders and you have border laws and things like this.
Yes. To recover money from manufacturer far away in certain countries.
Yeah. It doesn't matter which country it is, it's always the same. But it is liability in reality. It stops with who has got the money to pay and who can you go after.
Right.
And unfortunately, if you are, for example, a PPE broker that's just made all this rubbish available on the market, and you bought it dirt cheap and you got it really cheap, well, that factory's probably disappeared by now.
Yeah. Or they went back to making socks. Anyway.
Or they went back to making socks, or washing machines or something like that, yeah. Well, you are liable. Make no mistake about this. If that product is defective in any way, shape or form, or the documentation is fake or false or falsified, you are liable.
Yes.
If somebody is hurt, or, for example, it can be proven that your product was used in a medical setting and that medical setting now has people caught the disease and are dead, you are liable, and you can be liable for manslaughter. Okay? You made the product available to the market. So don't think that you just, you can't just think that, oh, well, I bought 1 million gloves and I made £500,000 on this, and look at me. Hey, I'm just going to go out and buy myself a new Lamborghini. I actually would go out and buy yourself a new lawyer, because they will come after you.
Yeah. On a positive note.
On a positive note, yeah.
Yes. Thanks a lot. So basically, if I summarize, so we were kind of looking at the gaps and the loopholes. Maybe people don't know what applies. They don't want to pay the money. They trust their supplier too much. These are very common issues. They once
they don't want to, to finish off there, Renaud, and they don't want to pay professionals to go and do it for them.
Yes. And on the enforcement side, market surveillance authorities, custom border control, and things like that are not as systematic as one would assume, and not as proactive also as one might assume. And then the manufacturer in a faraway country doesn't really care, because nobody's going to go and knock on their door and say, you've been, here's the enforcement of a judgment because of a product you made that was faulty and endangered the safety of users. So these are a number of issues. We already talked. We're going to do a follow-up episode that's going to come in 1 or 2 weeks later, and we'll look at actually how compliance standards are evolving, with a very concrete example that's already in place, actually, already being totally enacted and active, and how it actually closes pretty much all of these loopholes. Thanks a lot, Clive, and
you're welcome.
We'll talk again soon for the next episode, as I mentioned. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us. If you've enjoyed today's podcast, don't forget to like and share, and you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all other places that you get your podcasts from. See you next time.